what type of names, how we can name lines here. Okay, there are a bunch of ways we can name this line. We can use 2 points, okay, to name the line. So in this case, we could use, sorry, it's A, B, and C. Sorry, my handwriting's not the best with this. Okay, so A, B, and C. One way you can name it is put the little line over the top and use 2 points. So you could do A, B. Okay. You could do a C with a line over it. Okay. Or you can do BA. Okay. If this lets me draw a line. Okay. There we go. And then another way you can name it is line L. You can just say line L. Okay. Questions or concerns on that? Okay. So a plane is kind of like that picture that you saw on the first slide. It's this little paper looking thing. Okay, we name it by just putting a letter in the inside of it. So in this case, if I use P, okay, that'd be a plane P. Okay, and sometimes you can put points on it. Let me make a circle. R, S, T. Okay, so those are points. Okay, so some ways you can name it is you can say, make a little square and put the 3 points that are on there. So R, T, S. Or you can just switch the order for those letters as well. You can do S, T, R, and whatnot, and so forth. There's so many options for that. As long as you include 3 points, you should be good to go for that. Okay. Questions on that? Okay, so a segment, okay, is a part of a line with 2 endpoints. Okay, I know we know what that is, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. So that's just saying you have two points at the end and you're connecting them, so ST. Okay. How we name that is we just put a line over the 2 points, so ST, or you can write it as TS. Okay, whatever one floats your boat on that. Okay. So now array. Array is a part of a line with no endpoint or with 1 endpoint. So what's happening with array won't make me make any points. Okay, so we're going to use RT. Okay, and there's going to be 2 points on there, just won't let me make it. Yeah, let's make a dash. There we go. Okay, so that's our array. Okay, RT. So how we write it as, or name it, okay, is we first write down the endpoint, okay, and then we put the other point that's on the line. Okay, so RT. And then we, instead of like a line up top there, where we put the arrows on both ends above it, okay, what we're going to do is put an arrow on one end. So all it's going to look like naming it would be like that guy right there. So the arrow over the top, RT. Okay, you always start when you do array with your endpoint first. Okay, if it was a full array, like we'll see in the next one, you still use your endpoint, and you'll see an example here in a second. Okay, so opposite rays, 2 rays that share a common endpoint and form a line. Okay, so opposite rays. So let's make a line here. On this line, it's going to have 3 points. I'm going to kind of use the same RT, but I'm going to include an S this time. Okay, for them to be opposite rays, Okay, they have to be on the same line, but they have to be opposite of each other. Okay, so in this first one, we could use R as our endpoint if we wanted to. Okay, and we can say that one ray is just like the one above is RT. RT. Okay, and then the opposite of that ray would be RS because it's going the opposite way. Okay, notice my endpoints are the same, correct? Okay, what is happening? What's switching? The other point, right? Because we're looking at the one side of the line. Okay, we're just kind of cutting it off at the endpoint. Okay, and that makes one ray. Okay, then we're looking at the other side, and we're cutting off that other point to make the other ray. Okay? Questions on any of that? All right. So that's kind of the basic terminology that you're going to see throughout the year. You're going to see a lot of this throughout the year. So if it doesn't really make full sense by the end of the year, it'll make sense because we'll be using it so much. Okay? All right. So collinear and coplanar. Okay. Collinear points are points on the same line. So what that looks like is if I made a line, okay, and I have 4 points on it, let's just say A, B, C, D. Those points are all collinear points because they are on the same line. Okay. Coplanar are points on the same plane. So what that means is if I'm giving you a plane and there's a bunch of points on this plane, all these points are going to be coplanar points. Okay, and you can label all of them, so like S, T, U, V, W, if you want. Okay. So those are all coplanar points. Okay. Questions on those two terms right there? Alrighty, so let's go to the next thing here. I'm done with the definitions. Let's look at the problems here today. Okay, so the first one, it says problem number 1. What are two other names to name? QT. Okay, so we're going to look at the line QT. Okay, that's the one that's going vertical. Okay, what are two other ways that we can name that line? QT. Anybody have any ideas? Not line L, but you have the right idea. It's the vertical one.
Can I have your attention, please? All students in grade 9 with the last name I through M should go to the West lecture at this time to get their photo taken. Thank you.
Okay, it's that vertical one, so if it's the vertical one, what would it be? Not L, but you see it? You could do a line M, right? That's what they labeled that line. So that's one way you could do it. That's a good way you could do that one. What about any other ways? Oh my gosh. There we go. Any other ways that we can label it? TQ, yeah. Okay, another one you could do, you could have used that endpoint, and you could have did NT, NQ. Okay, there's a bunch of different ways you can go with this answer. Okay, so that's one. Number 1 or 1A is done. So now let's look at B. What are two other ways to name a plane P? Okay, for you to name the plane P, how many points must you include? You remember from that last page? 3 points. Okay, you have to include 3 points to name the plane. Okay, but those 3 points have to be on that plane. So could I choose point N or point T or point T? No. But I can choose any of those other points, point B, R, Q, and S. Okay? So if I'm gonna do that here, I'm gonna say the little box thing, and I'm gonna just choose 3 points. So B, R, Q. Okay? That's one way. So if I wanted to name another one, what would be another one that I could choose? RQS. And there's other ones you could have chosen along the way as well. Okay? Now C. What are the names of 3 collinear points? Okay, so that's the first part. What are the names of 3 collinear points? So just saying is, what are the collinear points in this problem? Okay, so if you look at that, what's one set of collinear points? R, Q, S. You don't include the I because it's the name of the line. Okay? You include the points, but that's really good that you saw that. Q, R, Q, S. Okay? Are collinear points. So I'm just going to write col. I'm just going to abbreviate it. Okay, what about coplanar points? Where 4 coplanar points, excuse me.
RQS.
Yep, R, Q, S, V. Okay, R, Q, S, V. Okay, remember coplanar are just the ones that are on the same plane. Okay, questions on problem 1 here. Okay. The only one I want to do for this problem 2, and you can do the rest if you like, okay, is finding the opposite rays. So it's part C. Okay. What are some opposite rays that you can see? ED. What's the opposite ray of that one? Yeah. That's one of them. Actually, that's the only one. So ED, EF. They're opposite of each other because both your endpoints are the same. Okay. All right. You guys look like you're ready to get going. Okay, the worksheet is on Schoology. So for this worksheet, you can either print it off or do it on a scratch piece of paper. If you want a printed off version, I have a few. So if you want one, you come up and take one. Okay. If not, you can do it on a separate sheet of paper as well. Okay. So you have the rest of class to work on that. So if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask.